Hey guys, it's Hope here with the Hopeful Spirit podcast. The alternative wellness series is all about sharing information on practices, modalities, and therapies that will elevate your life. To grow our knowledge, I'll be having conversations with thought leaders, practitioners, and influencers as we journey together through a network of holistic health. Hello, and welcome to the Hopeful Spirit podcast. I'm Hope, and today I'm here with Mike Thacker, and we're going to be talking about a lot of the modalities that he's focused on and what he's manifesting within the community. And first of all, I always kind of like to get into what did you have a pivotal moment in your life where you were like, I have to change things? Did you have an experience that kind of brought you into this lifestyle? Talk to me about like how you got here.
So many things. So let me try not to bore everybody out with too long of a story, but in synopsis, I was into martial arts and I found a master who was willing to train me in 2000. I started training with him, and I initially got into yoga just to become a better fighter.
Oh, okay.
And then in 2012, I was going through a divorce, and I needed something to recenter, to rebalance, and I did a 10-day yoga immersion, and I didn't have an intention at that point to teach yoga in a studio environment. But whenever I completed the 10-day immersion, I was offered a job teaching yoga at the studio of the instructors of the immersion, and I really enjoyed it, and I've been teaching yoga ever since. And a lot of people, they have this perspective of yoga as there's pop music, there's some flow, and certainly that's one aspect of it, but I'm much more interested in the other aspects of it, of the focused intention, of the stillness, of the breath, of the ascension, and that's where I've focused. I still love teaching movement and realize the importance of proper movement and proper body alignment. And most people, as a massage therapist, I'm sure you realize, most people have issues because of the way they move or don't move all day long. And if they were just more conscious of the way that they were treating their body, they probably wouldn't need as much of your services, which I guess wouldn't be a good thing for you, because they would have a lot less pain, a lot less discomfort, and a lot more mobility and flexibility.
Yeah, don't move. That's a big thing.
Right.
I think also yoga has been a catalyst for people kind of becoming more intuitive to how they feel in their body. We've kind of disconnected over the years. So awesome, yeah. So when like one of your classes might just be more about stillness, and I know you said you still teach the movement, but is it like if you could get close to a style or a genre of yoga, what would that be?
I would say probably Hatha yoga. And my typical class that I teach, they usually sit and breathe for 10 minutes before we do anything.
Okay.
And then we do 20-30 minutes of some fairly high intensity movement. And so even though it's short duration, the intensity will more than make up for it. And then generally lay them down and have them breathe some more, and then just, they're already down, they've already finished their breathing, so they just go right to Shavasana.
Yeah.
And because I trained with Wim Hof and Stig Severinsen, I know the importance or the significant value of holding your breath. And like everything, the more you do to put your body in a state of discomfort or a state of stress, the more you help your body come back stronger and more resilient. And I should clarify that most people have health issues because they're in a perpetual state of stress. So you don't go to the gym and lift heavy weights 24 hours a day. You go to the gym, you lift heavy weights for an hour, and then you go rest and recover from that. And one of the benefits of doing things where you put your body in extreme stress for short durations, like holding your breath, like sitting in ice, like holding a yoga posture for an extreme amount of time, is you get yourself used to being comfortable in uncomfortable situations. And so whenever you're going about your job and you realize, or your day, and you realize, my boss said this and I'm all worked up, or this happened on my commute into work, or I was home with my family and my friends and this happened, you start becoming more aware of when you start getting spun up, you start feeling some level of frustration, anxiety, anger, etc. And then most people then are able to put the two together. It's like, well, if I can stay in horse stance for 3 minutes, if I can sit in ice for 5 minutes, if I can hold my breath for whatever, and I can be comfortable there, I can probably get over what my boss just said, what my partner just said, what just happened on the freeway.
Interesting. Getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yeah, a lot of people are afraid of that. They don't want to introduce, it's weird, it's kind of like, it sounds counterintuitive, but it's not.
Right.
Yeah, I want to dive into that a little bit more. I just wanted to ask you first, when you started your yoga journey, obviously it's led you into places that you didn't expect. I feel exactly the same way. I'm like, I didn't even know I'd be doing this kind of stuff right now. But what are some of the benefits that you personally felt when you started your yoga journey?
So I'd say one of the most significant benefits is I had back issues growing up, and I had back issues because as a young teenager I wanted to get really strong, and so I lifted really heavy weights, and the form was atrocious because at 12, 13, 14 you want to push weight, or at least I was not concerned about what the form was looking like. I was going to lift as much as I possibly could. And so by the time I was in my late 20s, I had almost constant back pain. And so one of the most significant things that came out of it was all that pain evaporated and went away. And so it was kind of interesting that in my early 30s, I was healthier and stronger than I was at any point in my 20s because all the back pain was gone. And I remember driving around just thinking, I'm 28, my back effing hurts, but I guess this is life.
Yeah, that's actually kind of, I hear that a lot. Like, actually, the last interview I did, her journey started because she had back pain. And it was alleviated through yoga, but also through some of her other methods. So I'd like to move on to breath, because I know that's really important, and I don't think people realize the power of it. So if you would like to talk about what you teach and how you feel it could benefit someone's life.
Absolutely. So the quick science part of the lecture. So our autonomic nervous system controls every function in our body that we do not consciously have to worry about. Our heart rate, our blood pressure, our immune function, body temperature, etc. The easiest way to start consciously making a difference in your autonomic nervous system is through breath. And you can start shifting things in your body. The beats of your heart, your blood pressure, your body temperature, etc. And it all starts with the breath. And I alluded to it a minute ago with the stress, but most people have health issues because they're stuck in the sympathetic branch of their autonomic nervous system, which is a perpetual fight, flight, or freeze state. And if you have high blood pressure, if you hold your breath regularly, hold your breath regularly, unconsciously holding your breath, not consciously holding your breath. If you're breathing shallow from your chest, and there's probably dozens of other things, it means you are in your sympathetic branch of your autonomic nervous system. And so your body is on hyper alert all the time, and all of your blood is in your extremities because you're perpetually ready to get the heck out of somewhere or fight a grizzly bear if you're going to stay. And most people don't have situations in their life where they need to be in that heightened alert state. They are not running from anything or fighting anything on a regular basis. And T-Rex isn't outside, so they don't have to freeze and hope he goes by and doesn't see them. And as a result of being in that perpetual state, they're not able to rest effectively, so they don't sleep well, and they're not able to heal. And there's the digest function that goes along with that parasympathetic branch too. And most people that have food allergies isn't so much food allergies, the fact that they're in this hyper alert state where they have cortisol and adrenaline being dumped into their system constantly, and then they're throwing food down on top of that. It's like we were not meant to be eating when we're running from T-Rex. We were meant to be running at that point.
Right.
And then if your body is still in that hyper alert state and you're still dumping the cortisol and adrenaline you're putting in food, you can imagine your digestive functions are not going to be very efficient, because that's not where your attention is focused. And so back to your question on breathing, by taking slow, deep breaths, it moves your body out of that sympathetic fight, flight, or freeze state into your parasympathetic, the rest, the regenerate, the digest state. And I'm trying to think of even some of the more beneficial things to say. I think the most beneficial thing to say is you will sleep better, you will heal better, and you'll enjoy your meals a lot more. And so in terms of what this really means, like 4-part Ujjayi breathing is the default breathing pattern that we should all go to. And I meet so many yogis that they do the Ujjayi breathing while they're in class, but they don't do the Ujjayi breathing when they get out of class. And the key is being able to realize how you're breathing, how fast or how slow you're breathing, and then bring it back into a 4-part inhale, a pause, a 4-part exhale, and a pause. And if that duration's not right for you, find what is. But the key is make sure your inhale is no more than 1/4 of your breath cycle. And by having your inhale as 1/4 of your breath cycle, your body will automatically shift from that sympathetic mode into the parasympathetic mode.
Yeah, well, I guess maybe because I work with people like on a one-on-one basis, I'm moving their bodies. I kind of notice how their breath is going and have to coach them. But why do you think it's so hard to do? It's a very simple thing. I think and I come across this all the time. Why do you think it's so hard for people to do something so simple?
I think a lot of it has to do with just the way we're trained and what we're taught is important and what we're taught is not important. And I don't want to get too political on your podcast, so I'll skirt around this as gracefully as I can. But if we ever did have a true global pandemic and we had health professionals on TV almost 24/7, you would think it would be very important to teach people, okay, if this is a respiratory disease, let's understand the right way to breathe, and let's make sure that your breathing is optimized. So if you do get some type of respiratory infection, you have a significantly higher probability of rapidly clearing that infection with no adverse impacts. Unfortunately, I did not see any of the tens of thousands of hours of healthcare professionals on news programs talking about this pandemic. I did not see one of them talk about, if you start breathing this way, this will optimize your immune function. This will make your metabolism more efficient. This will lower your blood pressure and your heart rate and result in a significantly higher probability of a positive outcome. And I don't know how we got so turned around from a health perspective, but I can absolutely say that the people in the healthcare industry, so many of them are good meaning, but they do not have the proper education in human physiology, which makes it extremely challenging to cure or heal anybody of anything. A doctor will put you on medication for your high blood pressure, for your diabetes, for whatever the condition is, your rheumatoid arthritis. You'll be on those drugs for the rest of your life, while there are many studies that have proven that heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, cancer, etc., can either be, the impact can either be significantly reduced or completely reversed within weeks. It's not like we're talking years of hard work. And the fact that that's not being preached and that knowledge is not being shared by medical professionals, again, is just a sign of what a disaster our medical system has become. And there are so many people in that system who are good meaning and have the best intentions, but they just don't have the education of what these bodies are capable of. And it's like nobody gets sick because they have a deficiency of opioids, and so let's prescribe more opioids to the patient to help them get their opioid balance back so they can be healthy.
Yeah, they want to keep people sick. I guess it's more of a money thing. So if I was one of these people who suffered from you just named a whole bunch of different things, if we're talking about just breath work, what's a tip that you could introduce to the audience about how they can incorporate a little bit of breath work just to get started?
So I'm hoping to be like one of the Johnny Appleseeds of breath and like plant seeds all over the place. And so I'm going to keep repeating the same thing because I want to make sure this gets through to your audience and it's understood. But that 4-part breath, that is super powerful. Your body has the ability to heal itself. There is very little that your body cannot recover from. And if you're in this chronic state of stress and anxiety, you have very diminished ability to heal and recover from anything. But if you just sit and you practice the 4-part breathing, and if you want to, we can do it for a moment here.
Yeah, that's what I was actually going to ask you.
Yeah, where you just basically inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and hold for 4, and just get used to that being your default breathing pattern. Your heart rate, your blood pressure are going to start naturally dropping. I had a friend, an acquaintance, somebody that I did training with Stig Severinsen with, who lost almost 100 pounds.
Wow.
And he kept his less than optimal workout program, his same poor quality diet, and the only thing he did was learn to breathe more efficiently. Because we're breathing out carbon dioxide all the time. And the question is, where do you think that carbon molecule is coming from that you're breathing out? As a part of your metabolic function, you're sending out carbon, and waste carbon is going out. Like the breath is one of the most efficient mechanisms for throwing waste product out of your body.
Wow, that's really interesting. Well, let's try it.
Okay.
Let's try it. I'm going to change position here. I'm just going to close my eyes, and if you could walk me through it.
Absolutely. So just follow my lead, Hope. So you're going to inhale first, you're going to hold, you're going to exhale, and you're going to hold. So let's start with exhaling right now. And then inhale for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. Put your left hand over your heart and your right hand on your diaphragm. Now you're going to breathe at your pace. So whenever you need to breathe, you breathe and get curious about, can you keep your inhale at a 4-second, and maybe you extend that hold to a 6, maybe an 8. And once that's easy, then maybe you extend your exhale to a 6 or an 8. And once you have that first hold when you're full, lengthened, and you have that exhale lengthened, see if you can lengthen that hold when you're empty to a 6 or an 8. And every cycle you're doing this, your heart rate slows a little more, your blood pressure drops a little more. And make sure you're feeling your diaphragm move in your right hand before your chest moves. And some people may not move their chest at all, just may move the diaphragm. And in a relaxed breathing situation, that's perfectly fine. A lot of people that have never meditated before, this is a great way to start meditation, by just practicing sitting for 5, 10, 15 minutes, focused on slow, controlled, deep breathing. Do a few more cycles. Hope, and again, no rush. The goal is to feel your body relax more with every breath cycle. Every time you breathe out, any tension, any anxiety, any thoughts that aren't serving you, get exhaled out. Breathing in fresh, pure air that relaxes, energizes, and heals your body. And by doing these pauses, it causes much better oxygen exchange, because you're not just rapidly going in and out, you're pulling in the air. You're ready, you can open your eyes.
Yeah, always calms me down. It was interesting feeling the, I think a lot of people aren't aware of this too, is moving awareness in your body and where your breath is at. And so I was actually reminded, because I do feel myself breathe a lot in my chest, and so just moving that helped me a little bit. Also, something I've been noticing too is, and the more breath work I do, I feel the nerves in my face more active. I guess that's the best way to explain it. It's I know I have a lot of nerve issues, and so maybe this is kind of just working on some stuff, learning to kind of like calm that whole nervous system down. So
Right.
yeah, neat stuff.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And a lot of times I don't know the exact path of the vagus nerve, but I do know it goes through the face, and I hear that a lot from people, like that 10th cranial nerve that comes down here and then runs all the way down to your leg. And I wonder how much of that is the vagus nerve stimulation that happens, especially when people are doing deep breathing or long breath holds. They start having tingling sensations, and they start having twitches on their face, and
fingers start to tingle a little bit too.
Yeah.
And it's just the more I'm doing it, I'm noticing it more. I've done this breath work a lot through yoga, but I've been diving into different styles. There's all kinds, you know that.
Right.
So, well, that's great tips. It definitely calms a person down, and I think it's a great way to get started in doing or incorporating breath work into your life. You were talking about mindset too, so talk to me a little bit about how you incorporate this in your classes or what message you're trying to get across.
Right. So everybody has a I want to call it a batch, but I can't think of a better word right now, but a group of subconscious thought patterns that consistently play. And people who haven't done the work usually have negative thought patterns that constantly play in their head. And it is absolutely amazing to exercise, eat a well-balanced diet, etc. But if you are not aware of your default thought and emotional patterns and the impact that's having on your life, you're not really taking as good of care of yourself. You're not building the kind of health that's going to last, because eventually issues with those default programs that are running in your mind are going to start manifesting in a physical way. And I haven't met too many people that don't already have them in a number of other areas, so health is just one aspect of it. But just for my simplicity, I kind of bucket life experience into relationships, into health, and into finances. And you can look and see what somebody's default patterns are, especially if they haven't done any work, by looking at their physical, their emotional, and their mental health, by looking at the relationships they have with their primary partner, their biological family, their close friends, by looking at their career, their business, their investments, their philanthropy, and just provides all kinds of insight. And most people don't spend enough time getting curious about these kind of things, and it's like, well, I want to lose these 10 pounds, or I want to make more money, or I want to have a great relationship with an amazing partner. And those are all worthy goals. But the problem is, if you are trying to create something from the same mindset that brought you to your current space, what do you think your chances are of being successful at it?
Right.
And it's like, it's not a matter of you got to get to the gym and you got to diet more to lose the 10 pounds. It's like, no, you got to understand what are the mindsets or the patterns that got you to where you are, and what's going to be a pattern that's going to serve you in reaching that goal. Or it's not like, if only I can make an extra 50 grand a year, my life would be better. And it's like, no, okay, what is it that's causing your current income level to not be sufficient, and how did you get there to begin with? And the whole, like, whatever, it's like, I don't have any close friends. Okay, well, what are those patterns? What are those beliefs? And how did you get here? And so often people are looking at what the goal is, but they're not taking a holistic picture of, like, how did I get to where I am now, and what am I going to really do to get to where I need to be? That's the reason why most diets fail. And I don't want to, again, I don't watch a lot of TV, but I am somewhat familiar with the show Biggest Loser, and I'm just familiar with it because of the craziness of it, where they had people literally starve themselves and do all these crazy exercise regimens to drop all this weight. And I was listening to some interview, this must have been 6 or so years ago, saying the reason why there's never a reunion program of The Biggest Loser is because all those people put all that weight back on eventually,
Right.
because they get all that work, but they didn't do anything to resolve the underlying mindset that got
Right.
them to where they are. And so I know you do coaching as well, Hope, and that's the most important thing we can do as coaches. It's like, yeah, I'd like to say, yeah, I can teach you all kinds of amazing movements that are going to make you stronger and more flexible. I can teach you how to breathe and get off your high blood pressure and your diabetes medication in a few weeks. I can help you fast and cure yourself of most chronic diseases by the end of the month. But at the end of the day, even if you do all these things and you force yourself into a very disciplined regimen, unless you change your mindset, and some people, their mindset may inadvertently change when they start doing these things. And since it's Veterans Day, I guess we could mention the whole military training program is the way they do their training is they put people through such an extreme regimen. It causes a shift in their mindset, and something does flip as a result of that. And again, you can do that. You can put yourself in an extreme situation, and there's a chance your mindset will shift for the better, and you will come out much stronger. And there are other people that just completely crumble under that, and that doesn't really serve them. And so rather than trying to put yourself in this extreme situation and hope the best comes out of it, it's probably easier with a higher probability of success if you start working on that mindset, either intentionally focusing on your own, or if that's not something you have any idea, you find a good coach who's going to help you understand these are your default patterns that have created the life you have. And if this is the life you want, you have to shift and create another set of patterns that's more aligned and more congruent with that life.
Yeah, that's the work. You know, I hear a lot of terminology and New Age talk being thrown around, and that's something I discovered working with people is there are different levels of how much do you want this. There's organizing, figuring out what those things are, because some people are like, I don't know what's causing this. I don't. So some reflection.
Right.
It's not really. I think a lot of people think it's not like a blame game of like I'm blaming myself for this. It's more or less acknowledging where you are and how you got there.
Right.
And then taking steps to establish these new patterns. And yeah, as coaches, we can give them the tools.
Right.
But until you make that decision as a person that you want to make those changes, none of this stuff's going to work.
Right. Right. To protect the innocent, I will refrain from using the name of the organization, but there is a major healthcare provider in the country that started introducing health coaches into their staff, and they started seeing such significant benefits for their patients as a result of the introduction in health coaching services that there was a lot lower demand for pharmaceuticals and physicians, and this was a physician-owned program. And so whenever all the data started coming out, the physicians shut this down because apparently selling pharmaceuticals is fairly lucrative.
Right.
And so anyway, with this particular program, you get in to see a doctor this afternoon if you wanted to, but you're going to be on a 3 to 4 week wait list to get in to see a health coach. And needless to say, it's like the outcome of the health coaches are much better. And I think they were only focused on 3 areas. So it was basically weight loss, diabetes management, high blood pressure, heart disease. I think those are the only things they focused on. But as you can well imagine, it's like those are like 3 things that are kind of at the root of everything, where if you can't manage your weight, if you can't manage your blood sugar and you can't manage your blood pressure, those are going to cause pretty significant issues fairly quickly. And anyway, I would like to see a significant transformation of the healthcare system where we had far fewer physicians and far more health coaches, and a physician would kind of be the last resort, and most of what you would do from your daily interaction would be working with a health coach and just having to go and talk to somebody about, okay, how are you eating? How are you sleeping? How much exercise are you getting? How do you feel on a daily basis? And just having that level of interaction as opposed to having 12 patients or 20 patients an hour cycle through and you spend no time with any of them, as you have a professional that you sit down with once or twice a year and you spend 20 minutes going through having a good dialogue, doing a meaningful workup, and there's not people that are in and out of the office when you're sitting there waiting for the next person to come in, but somebody physically with you, present with you. And that's something that has been very much, I want to come up with the right word to state it effectively, but our society has been greatly harmed by all the tools that distract and keep people from focusing attention. And most people do not have the ability to sit and focus attention on someone else for a period of time. And there's a significant amount of research that has shown that the significant value in almost all therapy is having somebody genuinely listen to you. It's not about what they're going to say, what guidance they're going to provide. It's just having somebody who cares enough to devote their full attention to you. Our whole medical establishment would be completely shifted and very different set of outcomes if the whole focus of your primary care, whatever you want to call it, physician, coach, or whatever that model would be, is they are present with you for 20, 30, whatever the right duration was every time you went in, and they're not flipping in to talk to you for 60 seconds and then they're out talking to the next person, but they are totally present with you. And now to get back to your question on the mindset, where if you have somebody who's totally present with you and you feel heard, then whenever they talk, you're probably going to be a lot more receptive to what they have to say, because this person has just been totally present and they understand as much of your situation as you're capable of communicating in that situation.
Yeah, that's kind of how I got into coaching, was because it's just kind of comes with the territory of being a massage therapist. Is, you know, people want to come and unload or vent, and you know, I wanted to offer help for some of those tools, I guess, for those people who were struggling. It's something about the medical industry is that, and I hear this a lot too, just having people on the table, is, you know, they're being pieced. Oh, you need to go to this specialist, and you need to go to this specialist, and I don't know how many times I've heard, oh, this is better than a therapy session. Right.
Yeah, and this whole subdividing everything, where you have your ear, nose, and throat doctor, and then you have your endocrinologist, and then you have your heart specialist. It's like, that
doesn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah, it's an integrated system. It's not like a bunch of little components that can be evaluated individually. And there's no way you can fix one part of it without fixing the other parts of it. And if all you're doing is treating symptoms in one area, those symptoms are just going to shift and arise somewhere else. And it's a matter of, okay, how do we fix the whole system? And I guess now looping it back around to the breathing is, by doing that type of breathing as your default breathing, you will naturally shift into that parasympathetic branch of your autonomic nervous system, which is all about resting and regenerating and digesting. And you will start to get better if you do nothing else but just breathe that way. You can keep your same diet, your same exercise program, even your same thought patterns. But your thought patterns will start to naturally shift if you shift your breathing, because you're oxygenating your body and your brain differently, and things are going to start to shift. And then if you really want to up level, go find out a little more about mindset and how you understand what your default programs are, and determine, are these default programs serving me? And if the answer is no, then how do I get a better set of default programs in there that are going to serve me? And what is the optimal way for my body to move? What is a way that will help me develop greater strength, greater flexibility? What is a diet that will energize my body and make me feel more powerful? And just the list goes on and on. And what is the optimal time frame to eat? A lot of people are very focused on what to eat, and I've heard a lot of discussion on the carnivore diet or the paleo diet or plant-based diet or whatever, and it's like, okay, all those have some level of benefit somewhere. There is some pretty conclusive research by Joseph Campbell on which one is the best, so I think that there is and I just realized I probably used the wrong name. Joseph Campbell is the hero with 1,000 faces. And I'm totally drawing a blank on the guy from Cornell who did the China Project. But a very long duration study back in the 70s of dietary habits in different parts of China and the outcome of those different dietary patterns over a long duration. And there is a lot of benefit. The more plants you eat, the healthier you're going to be. And there's also significant benefit to eating within a short window or a short duration. And so you're not eating from the time you wake up in the morning until right before you sleep at night. But you have a 2, maybe a 4, maybe an 8-hour window, and that's all you eat. So if you have your first thing to eat at noon, you're done at 8 o'clock at night. And if you're the opposite, if you're like you want to take your first bite of food at 6 a.m., you're done no later than 2. Like my personal schedule, and I go out and hang out with friends, and so there are times this is not always applicable, but my general practice is I eat at 6 and I'm done by 8 and I'm in bed by 10:30, 11. And that works very well for me most of the time. And I feel really energized. And I used to be somebody who I loved breakfast, and so I'd have this ginormous breakfast. I'd eat a lot for lunch and then have a huge dinner. And I wasn't fat, so I didn't think there was any problem with it. But then when I started learning more about intermittent fasting and the benefits of time-restricted eating, completely changed my life, and I feel so much more energized. I feel so much more healthy just eating the one meal a day, and I go at least one day where I don't have anything. So I have basically 6 meals in a typical week, and it's like Thanksgiving every meal. And so I just literally can put down 2,000 calories, but I just do it in a 2-hour window instead of doing it over a 12-hour period.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of people that have experimented with their own diet. You said you just came off a fast, right? Yeah,
I did a 3-day fast, 3-day water only. And yeah, that was an interesting reset because I'm used to doing a 2-day fast. I'm fairly okay with that, and it wasn't until the end of the second day where I'd normally be eating coming off a 2-day fast that then I started really feeling hunger and discomfort. But then I woke up the next morning, I worked out, and I felt fine. And by the time I broke the fast, it wasn't like I needed to break the fast. It was just, I had planned on meeting some friends, we're going to break the fast together, have a meal, but I wasn't hungry at that point. And I'd say one of the biggest benefits of fasting is just getting curious about how much you really need to eat versus you have a habit of eating.
Right. Yeah, because it's almost like we are introduced to this program of how we're supposed to eat and what we're supposed to eat, and kind of force-fed. Right. Not to be punny, but force-fed, like, what we should be doing. And I think that's a good way to put it, being curious about how much your body actually needs to be working on an optimal level.
Right.
And some of those habits are hard to break, and that's part of the addictive quality of some of the foods that we have, sugar being like the worst one. But also people become very addictive to, checking out and substance abuse. And I think baby steps and like the breath work is a great way to do that. Another thing that you're doing a lot in the field of is temperature exposure. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. So if you want to get most people uncomfortable very quick, the fastest way to do that is stick them in a tub of ice.
Yes, I would imagine so.
Yeah, and I think that definitely does three things really fast. One is it definitely allows you to reprogram your mindset very quickly, because you're going to be in somewhere that's very, very uncomfortable, and your first instinct is to get out as quickly as possible because it's uncomfortable. The second thing is it allows your body to adapt. And like everything you do where you put stress on your body for short periods of time, that will make your body so much stronger. Everything from your metabolic function, because you got to get really efficient at warming your body up there. And for everybody who wants to get rid of unsightly fat, certainly putting yourself in cold constantly is going to do that, because your body will start converting the white fat, which is basically the jiggly stuff that everybody finds so sexy, to brown fat, which is very quickly burned to raise your body temperature. And so if you're in cold all the time, your body is like, okay, we need a lot of brown fat, and we don't really need as much white fat. And so let's start converting some of this white fat into brown fat, and then you get in the ice and you burn the brown fat to keep your body warm.
Interesting. So how long would somebody typically be, like if they come to one of your events, what's the exposure length?
Right, so I know that a lot of people have 2 minutes as their target. I personally just like to give them a little more, so I go for 3 minutes. And if they're doing okay with 3 minutes and there's not a huge line of people backed up, I let them go 5. I prefer not to go much longer than that unless they do have a very deep practice, and then I let them go 10 for the first time. And I have a lot of friends that have a group that they've founded called the Tribe of Ice, and they all do 20 minutes on a regular basis.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the research I've read, and from my own personal experience, everything has like a point of diminishing returns. And what I found is like from 0 to about 10 minutes, you're basically making exponential gains. And then from 10 to 20, it kind of levels off, and there's some gain, but not that much. And then after 20, it's just all about ego at that point. You're not really getting any significant physiological or psychological benefits from being in the ice at that point.
Yeah. I definitely want to try that. That's been one of the things that's kind of on my list of experiences.
Right.
What's the what's like the most common response, I guess, that you see in people when they're trying this?
Oh, hyperventilation. They get in there and they absolutely panic, and that's the first response. And obviously hyperventilation throws your body right out of that parasympathetic state into the sympathetic state. And again, if you're about to go do a super hard workout, you want to be in that sympathetic state because you want all of your blood in your extremities so you can run, lift, push, etc. But if you're sitting in ice, you want to be able to preserve heat in your core, and you don't want all your blood shooting out everywhere. And the second you start hyperventilating, that's what happens. And so the natural response is to start breathing quickly, and the appropriate response to help you cold adapt more rapidly is slow, steady breathing.
I would assume a lot of cussing too.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, but yeah, most people are just so in panic because of the cold and just trying to get their breath under control. That's their big issue, is just trying to get their breath under control because they're breathing way too fast. And if you can calm their breathing down, they'll be okay. I've had only one lady in all the time I've done this that I couldn't convince to stay in because she just couldn't regulate her system effectively. She just went into abject panic and couldn't get out of that. And there's a lot of benefit to, again, training your body. Okay, this is uncomfortable, but I'm going to do this anyway. Of putting your body in that discomfort and relaxing into it.
So would you say like anybody can do this, or somebody that who's maybe spent a little more time doing breath work would have a better outcome before trying this?
So all the instructors that I've known or worked with all do some level of breath work before they get in the ice, and my prejudiced opinion is I took the best of all of them, and that's those are the modalities I teach them before they get in the ice. But yes, the intention of my workshops is to go from no experience in the ice to where you could easily stay in ice comfortably for over 5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. You also have some retreats that are upcoming.
Yes.
Would you share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I have a retreat at Camp Allen on December 2nd through the 4th. We still have some spots available. And it's all about a visioning retreat, series of visioning workshops, where there are a lot of people that still do New Year's resolutions. But it's just like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And like we talked about before, of okay, I'm going to lose 10 pounds, I'm going to make $50,000 more, I'm going to improve my relationship with my children, or whatever your goal is. But if you don't get real about, okay, where are you right now and how did you get to this point, then it's going to be a little more challenging to meet those health, those financial, those relationship goals. And not only is it a nice drive, get out of the city, go hang out in the piney woods and get out of your day-to-day, but have some workshops there where, in addition to the movement, the breath work, the sound healing, the absolutely amazing plant-based meals we're going to have, we also have opportunities for you to get really sincere about, what do I want in my life? What do I really, really want between now and the time I leave this planet? What is the impact that I want to have? And then, what have I been doing and what kind of impact have I been having previously? And then, what do I need to do? What is that bridge from my present to my future? And that's the most valuable thing people will be coming out of that retreat with. Yeah.
So typically, are you opening this up to just anybody, or they're more of a niche group of people that you feel that would benefit from this, I guess?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, I'd say anybody who is walking on the planet and breathing could probably benefit from this type of retreat.
That's awesome. I want to give you some time to talk about anything that we didn't cover. Just because, I mean, I know that you have a lot of training and you've been through a lot of things. Maybe we just didn't get to the topic yet. So is there anything you would like to express?
Yes, thank you, Hope. Yeah, I guess the one thing that I want to convey, or I want to close with, is the importance of just owning your life. Is so many people, they outsource so many aspects of their life, and there are some things that make sense to outsource. Like, if you're making a lot of money, it may make sense to have somebody clean your house and do your yard. But outsourcing your health, outsourcing your finances, outsourcing your relationships, those are 3 areas that you should get really real about. What am I really outsourcing here? How much am I trusting my doctor versus how much am I owning for my health? How much am I just hoping my 401k or my job is going to provide me the financial stability and success I need, versus what am I doing to actively build value? And then the relationships. How am I showing up for everyone in my life? And what do I expect the outcome to be based on how I'm showing up?
Yeah, I think that that's a big big thing. And I think that's the benefit of having a coach, because I have met people who are like, I don't know how I got here. I don't know why I'm having this pain. I don't know what I want to do with my life. I'm an empty nester, and now, I've taken care of people for so many years, and now I don't know.
Right.
I have no idea who I am. That's like the biggest thing that I hear. And this could be a good opportunity for people to experience some modalities. I think this is a great idea, kind of combining these efforts and becoming more educated about not just your consumerism as like in the medical area of your life. We got choices.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the owning of your life, that's part of that, is like acknowledging where you are. Maybe you are a little bit broken physically or mentally, but there are choices that you can make within your life every day to help shift that. And it can be as simple as just breathing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just start.
Right.
Just start and don't be afraid of the work. I mean, there's always time to process things, and if you feel stuck in a box, I think getting out and checking out some of these events that people are offering in alternative therapies and modalities is can be life-changing.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there a specific place that they can contact you, or what's the best way somebody can find you?
Yes, thank you for that, Hope. So I teach at Wild Spirit on Fridays. I am at Garage Mahal second Saturday of every month doing ice. My Facebook is Mike Thacker, and I think there's a picture of me sitting in ice, so you can find the right Mike Thacker. And I recently changed my Instagram to Rising Consciousness TX.
Okay. And I'll put all that stuff in the show notes too, so people can find you. I appreciate your time, your efforts, and what you're sharing within the community. And until next time.
Right.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you for listening today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Your support will help me to continue this work. Until next time, be love and namaste.